and gentlemen, please welcome Vice President and Chief Technical Evangelist, Enterprise Solution Group, Sam Greenblatt.
Good morning. Before I start, I want to talk about one interesting thing, and I want you to imagine something. Last year, a day ago, my daughter was on the route of the Boston Marathon. We all know what happened that day, but it so happens that the Boston Athletic Association used a cloud, and we were able to, within 15 minutes of hearing the news, my wife Barbara and I were able to find out my daughter was safe. That, to me, is bringing value to cloud. We talk about it as a technology. It means a lot to me because the provider, and I am not going to go through who they were, it was an outside MSP, was running equipment and software from both of these companies. So the good news is cloud does exist, contrary to popular belief. So let me go into enabling the new cloud order. One of the things that we finally are able to do after many years is to be able to break cloud into the areas that NIST, which is obviously the National Institute of Science and Technology, set up many years ago. And those were PaaS, IaaS, and SaaS. And one of the things that we added with the industry is mobility, which is mobile back-end as a service. And yes, mobility does exist. So one of the things we're going to talk about is what we believe is going to be critical to the new order of cloud. We believe that the cloud must be an application-driven cloud. And it has to be where we bring value by adding the applications to the cloud. We've been very active in the OpenStack community. And one of the things that happened when we got OpenStack up and running is the customers turned to us and said, now I have OpenStack up and running, I have KVM, what comes next? And we looked at them and said, what do you mean what comes next? Don't you run in a virtualized environment? They said, no, how do we take advantage of this thing you're calling cloud? So what we look at OpenStack as is infrastructure as a service. And we are proud to be working with Red Hat on RHEL 7 and 6.5, and proud to be working with the developers that you saw on the screen, and also working with Brian and Paul. What's important for you to understand is once you build an IaaS platform, you really have to start looking at what your platform as a service is, and we're going to talk about that. You got to look at what your mobile back end is, and what's more important, you got to understand what SaaS environment you have. Now, by the way, I roam around, and that's because when I was in Philadelphia teaching school, if I stood in one place too long, I get hit by flying objects. So please don't throw anything, and I'll stay in this, and I won't make you seasick going back and forth. What's important on this whole concept is we have made a conscious decision to work with OpenStack and Red Hat as a full partner. We have engineering engagements. We want to leverage and validate our hardware. We want to make sure our hardware is optimized for the OpenStack environment. We want to drive innovation and flexibility. When you have two great companies coming to market together to drive the OpenStack solution, you start to create an enterprise value that is greater than anything you can imagine. We want to automate deployment and configuration. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But what's most important is to make sure when we go up to a customer, we can install this, get it up and running, and get the time to value quicker. Now, what we're also doing today is we're announcing that we are totally engaged in OpenShift to enable the PaaS layer that I talked about. When we created the OpenStack environment, we needed a platform to enhance the developer productivity that we talk about. We want to make sure a developer, and this is an eye chart, and I expected to see it in more presentations, but what you can see is you're looking at things such as Ruby tools, PHP tools, Sinatra, Maven, all the different things that you all use. And what we want you to do is build an application so that you can create a cartridge, and that cartridge can run on an OpenShift environment. We want to optimize security and control and efficiency using some of the Dell products we have. And we also want to deal with what Brian talked about, which was continuous integration. By using an OpenShift platform, you can do this very, very quickly. By the way, we want you to be able to build applications in minutes, not months. The thing that we're really excited about, and I saw Solomon in Brian's keynote, is I'm carrying with me a container that says Docker on it. You can get one when you visit the booth downstairs. We are also going to be working with the next wave of virtualization, which we believe is containers. Containers in OpenShift are symbiotic. The concept of building a container with a self-enclosed operating system with everything you need to run it inside of it is a brilliant concept, and we believe that that is going to be the next biggest thing in virtualization. We also believe it enhances portability, because one of the things we saw in the last couple months is we want Docker to be able to run other applications from other platforms. We want it to come down on anything that you can rationalize that has a Linux operating system. We want to build it on top of a laptop and actually take it to scale. We will be working, and we've talked to both companies, with Red Hat, also on their projects for their containers, and Docker with their containers, to make OpenShift containers come down on it. We want to basically run on any VM through any OpenStack cluster. And we want to make applications easier to build. You heard my opening story. That application that the Boston Athletic Association wrote took months. It used what Wormacy talked about, the Internet of Things, because it measured where every runner was at every 5-mile post. What we want to do is, if somebody has to do an application very quickly, they can create it, put it in a container, and deploy it using their favorite tools. This is my favorite chart. This is Dell and Red Hat better together. We are looking at our area where we have Dell PowerEdge servers, our compelling and equal logic we now call Dell storage. And by the way, we are optimizing this for areas such as object. One of the things we've worked with is Ceph on our storage. We have Dell Networking, which is running open networking. We're putting the Open Daylight switch into our networking. At the same time, we're running products like Cumulus on top of our switches. And there'll be other announcements in the next couple of weeks. We want to be an open networking company. Dell's legacy is very simple. It uses open standards and connectivity, and we run on an x86 platform. As you can see, we have OpenStack and OpenShift. I don't have to talk to you about what OpenStack is, and most of you have gone to most of the sessions on OpenShift. What we've done is we worked with Puppet Labs, and we created something called the Active System Manager, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And what you can see is on top of that, you have other applications like data protection, security, and performance. On top of that, you have something called Boomi and Dell Cloud Manager. Boomi is an MDM. When you start to do applications, one of the things you'll do is like Dell. We have 6 different customer numbers because we did multiple acquisitions. What Boomi does is it rationalizes all the numbers into a single usage model so that it's for the cloud, for the container, for OpenShift, so you can build applications and actually be able to use this data seamlessly without having to refactor it. And above that, one of the things we're very, very dedicated to is big data, and you're going to see a lot of stuff coming from Dell and other company partners. We want big data to be able to run on the stack. We want analytics. We just bought a company called StatSoft, which is probably the most advanced university statistics package. And I know that there's another company in Raleigh that might debate that. But what we can say about this is you can do analytics using this package embedded in the stack and be able to really bring value to your data. One of the things I'm going to talk about in a minute is how we're working together. We are committed to Gluster. We're committed to the things that the group at Red Hat are doing in that area in the storage server. We actually want the storage server to run better on Dell hardware than anything else. We are also committing to a project on networking with ODL and other technology. And the other thing that we really are committing to is we want to make it easier to deploy. And I'm going to show you a real live demo that we videotaped, so you can't sit here for 2 hours watching it run, of us deploying OpenStack, OpenShift, putting a Docker container down, all in 2 hours, which some of our customers took weeks. And we're pretty proud of it. We created something called the Dell Active System Manager in concert with Puppet. What it is we've taken all our years of experience on how to put applications, put them into a reference architecture, created service templates. We create end-to-end automation to enable you to actually run the script and do the provisioning. We also wanted to make sure that it could deal with any future technology. When we first started with OpenStack, installing it, even with our Project Crowbar that we have Open Crowbar on, took a long time. We wanted one consistent way, and we're working on it today. So where I'm going to go is I'm going to show you a demo, and I'm going to walk you through it. So if you could run the demo, please. As you can see, this is the active system manager. I'm not going to bore you. I'm going to back up here. What you do is you create an initial setup. You discover resources. It will discover all the resources that are on all the platforms. It will then list it for you. You can see that it's a PowerEdge Blade M620. It'll show you all the devices that are on that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a PaaS development demo, deployment. It'll show you the actual configuration. And you can see where the OpenStack controller is, the OpenShift builder, broker, and you can see the template. Now we're going to run it, and this is going to be boring, but I want to show you so you get some idea. We're naming all the nodes. Think about what it takes to do this when you set up a system, and you hit deploy now. What you're going to see is this is what it's going to look like. In the applications, you see the brokers and the nodes. Those brokers are OpenShift node brokers. The nodes are OpenStack nodes. And now what you're going to start seeing it do is it's going to go in and actually provision it. And when you go to see this, and this is the sexy part of the demo, you're going to see a black screen coming through, and it's going to start issuing pixie boots to find the hardware. And then what it's doing at this point is it's provisioning it, and now it's going and installing the RHEL. It installs Rev. It installs OpenStack, and then it goes and installs OpenShift, and it creates all this. And then at the end of the demo, it takes a Docker container and puts it on all the OpenShift brokers, so you could actually run this out of the box using it. And what's happening is you can see that it's RHEL 6.5. You can now see the configuration set up. It can tell you who deployed it. And what it's actually doing is showing you everything it discovered. The Docker container is looking for national parks in this area. You can see that, obviously, you see it's a real demo. We had to go through the proxy. And what you're going to see is he's going to create the application. It uses Python 2.6, and it has cartridges. It's called, basically, it modifies the changes, uses Postgres, and this is the app running. I want to thank Chris Morgan for coming out and working with us quite a bit on this. We did it, this is a cartridge, not a container. We did it both ways. So what we really want to do is make you understand that Dell and Red Hat is nothing like anything else in the industry in the past. We're creating a complete new order. We're working on OpenStack management, as I spoke about. When you see the things we're going to do in storage, which Brian talked about, is the next great frontier. We're going to use Gluster. We're going to use Ceph. And by the way, 10 out of the 12 top banks in Wall Street are asking us to run Ceph. There may be other object technologies in the past, coming in the future. We will work with any technology, being open, being able to move at a quick speed with Red Hat and the other open source to create this. We are going to be very active in OpenShift. We want containers, and we know containers are going to be the next big thing. and we want to work with companies that are progressively thinking about this, like Red Hat and Docker. We also, as I said, are working on open networking. As you know, Brian talked about Neutron. We're working with Neutron. We're working with Open Daylight, and we're creating something called Dell Open Networking, which right now has Cloudera as the partner, and we're going to have other people. We now have the ability to run on an Intel chip on our 6,000 and 9,000 server. What does this do for you, and why even listen to this? Because this is two enterprises working like an open source community. We're taking the best of what we can offer. We're taking the best of what Red Hat can offer. We're bringing it together symbiotically to create the optimal platform for you. One of the things that is really, as I said, we did a lot of OpenStack deployments. When we did it, everybody wanted to know who to go to talk about it. So therefore, what we want to do is make it obvious that the obvious partner is Dell and Red Hat coming together. And we are also, I'm wearing a beta tester for RHEL 7. We're very active in RHEL 7. There's a lot of enhancements in there that makes everything we're doing that much more significant. So in the end, the Dell Cloud strategy is very simple. We want to bring you the tools to allow you to govern and manage securely access control. We don't care if it's a public cloud. We don't care if it's software as a service, a community cloud, or your own private cloud. We want to be able to monitor it, and believe me, monitoring multiple VMs across multiple servers is not an easy task, but we think we're up for it. We want to be able to do application integration, and Brian was a perfect setup for that. We are using nothing but standard RESTful APIs, and at the same time, we're using other APIs that are coming out in the market. We talked about provisioning and management, and the other thing we are doing is we have something called the Cloud Marketplace that we introduced at Dell World, where small and medium businesses who do not want to deal with all the cloud MSPs can broker that cloud through us. If they're running a OpenStack or RHEL, they can actually use our broker, set it up, and be able to burst to it when it's needed. So in the future, what we want to do is to create Dell appliances. We want to make sure that you can roll it in. You may not even have to provision it. We also want to do cloud consulting, and we want to do application services through our services group. The question is, you all know Dell as a PC manufacturer over the years. We want our end user computing, our VDI terminals, our tablets, and most of all our PCs to engage in this infrastructure so you do not know where your compute is coming from, but you're basically serving the application. So where this is different from our cloud strategies in the past, we're partner engaged and we're application centric. And if you think of Dell that way, that is going to make Dell probably the most easiest partner in the industry to work with, because we will bring the right people to the party to make this work. Thank you very much, and I really hope you have a great conference. It's always tough being in front of the coffee break and being the last one up, but hopefully it was the best. Thank you.